3 minutes ago, the campus plaza lay in ruins, its once vibrant structures reduced to rubble. Suspended in mid-air, the lunar blade, watching as the two formidable supreme beasts had already been vanquished, leaving behind a chaotic aftermath. In its current state, bathed in the ethereal glow of the full moon, the lunar blade entered a state of frenzied rampage. Abruptly, a sound pierced the air from behind. Startled, she spun around to behold a shocking sight, a dismembered body of the Moonlight Bunny, its once lifeless halves slowly reuniting in a mesmerizing display of regeneration. In a matter of moments, it stood before her, with an explosive burst of energy. The Moonlight Bunny unleashed a powerful punch towards the lunar blade, who desperately attempted to defend itself but was overpowered and driven forcefully into the ground. At that precise moment, along a narrow forest trail, three figures draped in black cape gradually emerged. Enveloped in their intense conversation, they were caught entirely off guard as the Moonlight Bunny and lunar blade descended upon them from the heavens, unleashing an onslaught without any forewarning. The sudden turn of events left the three individuals in a state of complete shock. They thought they'd been discovered by the Lunar King. The men in black, who's the sole successor from the Black Moon clan, holding on to a glimmer of hope, tried to reassure themselves that it couldn't possibly be the Lunar King. But before they could even finish their thoughts, the Moonlight Bunny surprised them by reaching into its mouth with its ears and pulling out Sue, who had been swallowed just moments ago. Their breath caught in their throats as their bewildered eyes met the Lunar King. Taking a swift look around, Sue roughly assessed the strength and identity of the trio. Faced with Sue's questioning gaze, the three individuals fell into an eerie silence. The woman with blue hair, visibly nervous to the point of suffocation, finally found the courage to break the silence after what felt like an eternity. Cold sweat slowly trickled down her forehead as she mustered the strength to respond. She claimed to be a beast tamer from the Underworld Path Guild, present solely to greet the almighty Lunar King. She emphasized that she had no intentions of starting a war against the Lunar King. However, just as the tense words left the blue-haired woman's lips, one of the men in black erupted in a shout, declaring, "I have come to wage war upon you." The provocation from the Black Moon instantly captured Sue's undivided attention. Although Sue's expression remained unchanged, they could still feel the chilling gaze of the Lunar King piercing through them. In an instant, their entire body trembled uncontrollably. Stepping back cautiously, the man in black warned that he will seek revenge and bring about their defeat. Like a clown, the man in black rambled on, engaging in a soliloquy, while Sue remained completely unresponsive, his eyes icy and fixed upon the group. The bone-chilling fear that gripped the room brought the man in black thoughts back to that fateful night 3 years ago when the headquarters of the Black Moon clan was annihilated. It was the same gaze Sue had stared into, devoid of mercy, brimming only with coldness. In reality, Sue may appear cold and aloof, with an air of superiority, but deep inside, a storm of emotions is raging. Oh, he doesn't remember anything, it's as if he has never seen this person before. Furthermore, he can no longer control the lunar blade. Seeking an excuse, under the torment and anguish inflicted to the three individuals, Sue speaks again. Their pitiful struggles are unbearable to witness, yet he is willing to give them a chance. However, in exchange for provoking him and disrupting the academy, the Double Moon clan will relentlessly hunt them down. But if they can escape unscathed, Sue will pretend that nothing ever happened. Sensing the impending eruption of the lunar blade's terrifying power, Sue must first intimidate his opponents. In the next moment, a radiant burst of light emanates from the unleashed attack of the lunar blade, instantly enveloping the entire forested mountain. 10 minutes later, a deep and unfathomable chasm has been carved into the mountainside behind the academy, obliterating all the trees and rocks, leaving the three individuals struggling to crawl out from the soil in a wretched state. The three individuals had no choice but to abandon their search for the Lunar King and flee in all directions, avoiding capture by the members of the Double Moon clan. As Sue returned to the academy, the once bustling area of the teaching buildings had turned into ruins overnight. Through this battle, he discovered that not only the Little Deer, the Lunar Blade, or the Moonlight Bunny, but it seemed that they could all easily defeat the supreme beasts. He had always thought of himself as weak, but somehow he had unconsciously formed contracts with many powerful beasts. Suddenly, a deer's cry came from behind, and before he knew it, the little deer fiercely tackled him to the ground. According to her, just encountering the supreme beast was truly terrifying, and she had almost been defeated. If it weren't for her protection, those two students would have died. The deer, in a tearful manner, spoke while simultaneously boasting and tattling. Midway through her speech, she realized that she had forgotten to revert to her original form. Just as she was about to escape, Su placed his hand gently on her head, with a gentle touch. Smiling, Su said, "Accompany me on a trip to the Double Moon clan's headquarters. I have something to discuss with one of the overlords." Overlord? The deer recalled the novels she had read. Could this be meeting the parents? Is everything progressing too quickly? Blushing, the little deer nodded dazedly. A floating island in the sky, with a colossal butterfly wing behind it. This is the headquarters of the Double Moon clan. Leading a team, a pink-haired girl named Tao, an officer of the Tsangyue sect, gazed at the airborne island. Her mission today was to find the treasure of the Eastern Domain Emperor, said to be located within the headquarters of the Double Moon sect. Upon entering the island, she expected it to be a solemn and sacred place, but instead, it turned out to be a tourist paradise. Envious, she watched the bustling crowd of tourists and thought to herself, how much money must they make in a day? A white-haired man wearing a butterfly mask walked past them, accompanied by an exquisitely adorned deer beside his arms. In his hand, he held a skewer of roasted meat. The deer noticed that the girl leading the team was Tao, a devoted fan of the Tsangyue Emperor. Upon learning that Su had described the Tsangyue Emperor as old and fat, Tao had been incessantly criticizing him online, often insulting the Northern Territory and the Double Moon clan. The deer had once engaged in verbal battles with Tao online, eventually blocking her. Clenching her tiny hooves, she had wanted to grab Tao and give her a good beating. Observing the deer's excited expression, as if she had caught an internet nemesis, Su shook his head helplessly and amusedly. How could he resort to physical violence just because of an online argument? Su smiled and asked the deer if there was anything else she wanted to do. The deer, being innocent, quickly shifted her attention upon hearing about something fun. Before long, they arrived at a food street, and the deer pointed to a sign that read, "Food Challenge." Su was speechless. He hadn't expected the deer to be interested in participating in such a game. He pondered the consequences of the next major headline of the Lunar King engaging in such an activity and wondered how he would face others afterward. However, when he saw the deer's immensely excited eyes, Su couldn't bring himself to refuse her. He reluctantly agreed. To his surprise, a group of people wearing white uniforms hurriedly approached from a distance. The girl among them confidently stated that she was determined to win the championship prize this time. The first-place reward was a single drop of Emperor's sacred water, the second-place prize was a box of face cream, and the third-place prize was hand cream. Su was astonished at the stark difference in the rewards. He pondered for a moment and realized that the Emperor's sacred water was likely a tear from the cherry blossom pupil, the beloved beast of the Eastern Domain Emperor. Interestingly, that beast also happened to be a butterfly. He wondered who had organized this competition and felt a tingling sensation on his scalp. How could they dare to use items belonging to the Emperor as prizes? Weren't they afraid of the Emperor seeking retribution? The deer couldn't help but ask in confusion, "Isn't this competition organized by your Double Moon clan?" It was supposed to be an act of revenge against the cherry blossom pupil. The deer mentioned that the Double Moon clan had been collecting a large number of delicacies required by butterfly-type beasts recently, which had led to numerous disputes with the Emperor. Hearing this, Su couldn't help but feel a mix of amusement and frustration. Nonetheless, he decided to participate in the competition for now. A woman wearing an apron stood at the center as the host, addressing the audience of thousands seated at neatly arranged tables. Surprisingly, there were only a few participants among the spectators, as it seemed everyone was hesitant to offend the Emperor and dared not enter the competition. The woman provided a brief explanation of the rules. The pet food used in this competition was incredibly spicy and could only be withstood by supreme-level creatures. Many participants and their beasts displayed expressions of shock and fear, except for the deer, whose eyes suddenly sparkled with excitement. Tao quickly summoned her own beast, a supreme-level flame-type creature named Thousand Flame Powdered Butterfly. Glancing around, she noticed that no other contestants had summoned supreme-level beasts. However, she looked across and was surprised to see a masked man participating in the competition with a mid-level creature that seemed like a white flower deer. Shortly after, the competition began. As the referee announced the start, the small-sized butterfly swiftly grabbed a piece of pet food and swallowed it in one bite. Meanwhile, the other high-level beasts were employing various methods to eat, causing tears to stream down their faces. Despite the somewhat comical scene, everyone was fully engaged in the challenge. Roaming among the various creatures, the deer calmly and leisurely consumed the pet food. Many high-level creatures were overwhelmed by just 2 bites, but the mid-level white deer had already eaten 5 or 6 pieces without showing any signs of discomfort. Tao wasn't oblivious to this. She realized that the deer was actually a supreme-level creature. However, no matter what, she wouldn't accept defeat. 3 minutes later, all the other beasts had already fainted. The powdered butterfly stuck out its tongue after devouring its 30th piece, continuously emitting hot breath. On the other hand, the deer remained unaffected and calm. Sue glanced at the deer and advised, "Don't force yourself. You just ate a bunch of snacks." The deer picked up another piece of pet food and confidently responded, "It's okay. The stomach used for snacks is different from the one used for pet food." Tao couldn't believe her eyes. The deer was completely fine. With no other choice, Tao, as a 4-star beast tamer, summoned another supreme-level creature simultaneously, but they could only last for 5 minutes. She shouted loudly, and behind the pink-haired girl appeared a humanoid creature made of blue flames. Its aura was incredibly formidable, and as soon as it appeared, it grabbed a plate and sucked in over a dozen pieces of pet food. Even the deer was astonished. Wouldn't eating like that cause diarrhea? Soon, Tao took the lead with over 40 pieces consumed. Just when the audience thought Sue was about to lose, Sue summoned Lake Reflection. In an instant, as the lake water surged over the dining table, hundreds of pet food disappeared without a trace. This sudden occurrence left the referee wide-eyed in disbelief. Tao sat on the ground, her face filled with shock. Shortly after, the referee announced the results of the competition. In this incredibly eerie atmosphere, the referee escorted Sue backstage to receive the prize. A few minutes later, with great respect, the referee called out "Leader" and handed Sue a small bottle. Sue was surprised that the referee recognized him. The referee also informed Sue that the overlord had awakened and invited him to the main hall to discuss important matters. Sue opened the bottle and took a gentle sniff. After a few seconds, his trembling fingers closed the lid again. He turned around and walked away. He opened the lunar book and discovered that the emperor-ranked beast had been unlocked, granting him 50 chances to draw rewards. The book also introduced the emperor-ranked butterfly, cherry blossom pupil, with a history spanning over 10,000 years and a combat power approaching that of the overlord. Sue scratched his head, realizing that with such formidable strength, conflicts with the Double Moon clan could be troublesome. Letting out a sigh, he made his way to the main hall. As night fell, he entered the magnificent palace, adorned with golden splendor. Along the way, everyone bowed their heads with devout expressions. Passing through the palace, they reached the end, where a mirror shrouded in thick mist appeared before them. Sue promptly stepped forward and passed through the mirror in the blink of an eye, entering another world. Little Deer widened her eyes, experiencing her first encounter with the overlord. Sue nodded solemnly and introduced, "This is the unrivaled overlord, the supreme guardian of the entire northern realm and the revered beast of the Double Moon clan. She is also known as the Protector, the arching moon over the Azure Sea." Upon Sue's arrival, a soft female voice resonated from above the moon, saying, "Lunar King, it seems you have finally made up your mind. The Lunar Goddess Festival has been delayed for a full 3 years, awaiting your response. The old ones from the Western realm are furious, and even the deities are displeased." Upon hearing the voice of the Azure Sea, Sue felt a sense of unease. In his memories, the former Lunar King had refused to initiate the Lunar Goddess Festival, seemingly waiting for a certain moment. But Sue had actually forgotten about this matter. He coughed twice and said that he had come precisely for this purpose, and the Lunar Goddess Festival could indeed commence. Before that, Su wanted to ask a question. He confidently asked how he could win. Azure Sea remained silent for 10 seconds before giving a slow response. She said that she couldn't intervene during the lunar goddess festival, but wanted to know who his greatest opponent was. Su wasn't entirely sure, but he knew it should be the Emperor Beast of the Black Moon clan. Azure Sea grew somewhat angry upon hearing this, thinking that Su was playing a prank on her. She knew that no Emperor Beast from the Black Moon clan could pose any threat to Su. Su is the chosen one of the moonlight. She didn't want Su to make such jokes. Su, sensing Azure Sea's dissatisfaction, could only nod in agreement. He felt incredibly uncomfortable inside. He hadn't intended it as a joke. As a mere one-star beast tamer, how could he possibly defeat an Emperor Beast? In the next moment, a silver halo shimmered in the air, and a beautiful diamond ring appeared. It was the symbol of the ruler of the Northern Realm and the token of the lunar goddess. As long as he wore this ring, the lunar goddess festival would officially begin. Su reluctantly put on the ring, and in the next moment, his figure vanished into thin air, as if the entire world had come to a halt, including the mighty overlord. Suddenly, an system text box appeared before Su's eyes, stating that the lunar goddess festival had been initiated upon detecting the ring. After a few seconds, the system detected that Su was the bearer of the lunar book and could assume a disguised identity. Su looked left and right, only to see darkness surrounding him, with only the interface in front of him displaying his personal information, his name, gender, one-star beast tamer, and appearance. The system offered him 3 templates to choose from for his disguise: Heavenly Lunar, Lunar Blade, or Azure Sea. Su carefully considered his options and realized that he could alter his appearance and conceal his name, but couldn't hide his beast tamer level. After a moment of contemplation, he decided to choose a stronger disguise and ultimately selected Azure Sea's reflection as his template. In a mysterious and spacious meeting hall within an unknown realm, 5 chairs were placed, each connected to a different passage representing the strongest individuals from 5 regions of the Moonlight faction: East, South, West, North, and Central. The first to appear was an exceptionally beautiful woman with 2 buns on her head, resembling a playful cosplay of Mickey Mouse. She sat down while reciting classic lines from the Moon God Palace. From the passage representing the South, a pink-haired woman emerged. She is Tsangyu Emperor and exchanges greetings with the first woman, indicating their familiarity with each other. In the passage representing the West, a petite, golden-haired girl wearing a tiger-patterned robe walked over, yawning as if she had just been interrupted from her slumber. Tsangyu Emperor greeted her amiably, and the young girl promptly dozed off on her chair. After a while, a woman with blue skin and blue hair entered the passage representing the East. Despite her slender figure, she stood at an impressive height of over 3 meters. The people from the Moon God Palace looked at her with disdain, questioning the presence of a water element representative in this gathering. However, the blue-haired woman paid no attention to their disapproval and simply stated that the lunar goddess token was in her possession, leaving her with no choice but to be present. With all 4 seats occupied, only the one representing the North remained empty. They had waited for a long time, but no one appeared. The blue-haired woman grew impatient, while the Tsangyu Emperor mentioned that only the Lunar King was left. The young girl glanced around and remembered the Lunar King as the mischievous little fellow who caused a scene 3 years ago. The Moon God Palace expressed disdain, considering him to be all talk and no substance. Just as the tension mounted, there was finally movement in the passage representing the North. All eyes turned towards it, and in the next moment, a mysterious figure dressed in silver emerged from the passage. The blue-haired woman and Tsangyu Emperor stood up abruptly, unable to believe their eyes. It seemed that the moon had provided them with incorrect guidance. The representative from the North being someone other than the Lunar King was quite unexpected. The newcomer was a beautiful woman with long, silky silver hair. The representative of the Moon God Palace was momentarily stunned, but the woman quickly remarked that it seemed the legend of the Lunar King was indeed false and that there were many who surpassed the Lunar King in strength. She deliberately spoke loudly, carefully observing the expression of the silver-haired woman. However, there was no discernible reaction from her. It appeared that she had no connection to the Lunar King. Internally, Su couldn't help but think that the woman was stunningly beautiful but had a sharp tongue. He had successfully deceived them all with the humanoid form granted by the power of the lunar book. The mysterious room now contained all 5 individuals, and finally, a cheerful voice resounded, introducing the once-in-a-millennium Lunar Goddess Festival. They were to select the most trustworthy and strongest individuals in their region to participate. It was forbidden for the 5 of them to engage in combat until all the sacrificial offerings had been defeated. In the end, the voice instructed them to choose their own candidates. Su felt a bit conflicted, as selecting someone might expose his true identity. The woman in blue yawned and directly chose the Emperor rank, cherry blossom pupils. The Moon God Palace also quickly made her selection, opting for the Emperor rank as well. The full moon descended. And the young girl also made her choice, selecting the Emperor rank, first-generation White Saint. Su was already speechless at this point, as these Emperor ranks were incredibly close to the power of an overlord. Suddenly, the previously cheerful female voice issued a warning, urging them to make a choice within 1 minute. Sangyu Emperor gazed at Su, who was still hesitant. Then, a thought occurred to him: what if he chose the Emperor rank of the North, an existence that once existed but whose whereabouts were now unknown? A figure appeared in his mind, and he summoned the lunar book, swiftly using it to draw 100 times from the gacha system. Flipping to the encyclopedia entry of the Emperor rank beast. Cloud and Dreams Covenant. Fortunately, Su knew the descendant of Cloud and Dreams Covenant, Heavenly Lunar, who had the opportunity to directly ascend to Emperor rank. The countdown of the female voice began, giving Su 5 seconds to make a choice. If he didn't choose within those 5 seconds, it would be considered forfeit. The North chose the Emperor rank, Cloud and Dreams Covenant, while Empress Sangyu opted for the Supreme rank beast. Was very surprising, since everyone else selected Emperor-level beasts. Su carefully recalled the name of the Supreme-level beast. And realized that it sounded remarkably similar to the name of the scabbard that Lunar Blade had been searching for. In the moment of teleportation, the golden-haired girl heard the name, Cloud and Dreams Covenant, and seemed to realize something. Her expression underwent a drastic change, devoid of drowsiness, and she looked at Su in absolute astonishment. In an instant, everyone was transported back to their original regions, and the world returned to normal from its paused state. Azure Sea also sensed that the Lunar Goddess Festival had begun and wished Su the best of luck. As she watched Su's departing figure, she silently said that when they met again, the Lunar Goddess Festival might have already ended, hoping that their promise would come true by then. Su's recollection of feeling uncertain and fearful about his own power, as well as his concerns about the other emperors, sparked laughter from Azure Sea. She sensed that Su's memories were gradually returning, and she looked forward to seeing the reaction of the Moon God Palace's members to all of this.